Good evening, everyone. I am Brad Chester, the oldest man of 40K, and I like that I covered Leah with cows until I revealed her at the last minute. Everyone, introduce yourself to everyone.
I'm Brian Horton, the youngest, oldest judge in 40K.
I'm Leah. I am a commission painter and just started playing 40K.
I'm Brent Weiss. Probably the best looking Tau player.
I like what's happening here. I like it a lot. Welcome to everyone. Yeah, tell me about the fact that we misspelled immediately what you do and what's going on. We were going to call you Ted, but we finally just said, screw it. We'll actually use the name that she has. Tell me about the Tavern and Guild Hall and what happened, how you got it started, and what the hell do you do?
All right. So Tavern and Guild Hall just started last year in March when I had an opportunity to be able to purchase Magic the Gathering collection. So it actually started out playing Magic. And it was my fiance and I that we started figuring out what on earth are these plastic models, because they're always around the community to where you go and you start opening up Magic packs, right? It's crack. You can't. Well, lo and behold, there's this thing called models and painting, and it's more than crack. It is meth. You cannot have enough of those models to paint.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I can't have enough. So it turned from buying and selling Magic the Gathering on TCG Direct into doing commission paint work. So I do commission painting. I am so grateful with how positive and how helpful the 40K community has been from my first commission that I actually did for AOS in October, and how much it has blown and exploded with the positive feedback. And what I have done is I have, with the help of Still Frosty Gaming, that I set myself to finish a full 2,000 point World Eaters army in 8 days, because 8 is Corn's magic number. So with Brandon helping me doing the bases and the diorama, that is hopefully going to be finished tomorrow for Mall at the Mall. So that is all going to be there.
I love the speed. By the way, so I talked to Brandon today, and he's basically like, I have to get this done, because I was talking about how the story of when I first met you at Cherokee, you had said, I just did this army in like 11 seconds. I don't know what the actual time was. It was 2 days or something.
4 hours. 4 hours. I finished.
My bad. 4 hours.
My demon army was 4 hours.
So, and I'm like talking about how fast, and he's like, yeah, well, she's coming over tomorrow. By the way, he doesn't bother to mention this to me after I already set up a stream with him tomorrow, also Friday tomorrow afternoon. And I go, he's like, I have to finish before her because I can't let her paint faster than I do. So like, I didn't know there was a contest to be able to get minis on the board faster or just finish projects faster.
Oh yeah, we've started the what did you get done today? It's been a lot of fun saying, all right, I got this done. All right, am I ahead of you or am I behind of you?
I love everything about that. That is absolutely fantastic.
And then in the other quarter, we've got Brenton going, if I see one more guardsman, I will stab someone in their eyeballs.
It's true. I really only like painting the armies I like the lore behind, just like I like playing the armies that I really love the lore behind. So doing these for Tom is a favor because he's one of my best friends. But yes, if I have to look at another Imperial Guardsman after this, I'm likely going to throw it at the person asking me to paint it.
I love everything about it.
So, Brad, what he's saying is you need to buy a guard army and ship it to him.
I mean, I did say that I'd like to play Eldar, and I went, I'm not going to play my own Eldar because then I'd have to go get them and find them at Sniggs' house, and I didn't know if I had all the models. So I just asked Brenton and John DeFrank, I'm like, hey, I want to play this weekend. And they're like, isn't that the list that's going to do really bad against Guard and stupid indirect Marines, the old desolation of Brad? And I'm like, yeah, but chat said they want to see some pointy ears, so I'm going to try this out. And I also need all these models, so let's do this. So instead of getting a project ready in 4 hours, 4 days, or 4 minutes, I sent like 4 messages. Does that count? I feel like I'm ahead. I feel like I'm ahead in modeling right now.
And what Brad forgets is there are a few of us trying to actually get a Votan army together, and we're going to paint each model to look like Brad.
Oh, I love it.
Is there going to be 3D printed empty wine bottles on every base?
There wasn't.
But now, indeed, there is. I just glossed over because I've got a tiny brain and I have little attention span here. I kind of just blew over the fact that you're like, hey, I just started commission painting out of no. How did this even like happen? You were like, hey, I was walking by a mini and then I painted an entire army for someone. There has to be some sort of lead-in story for that. I feel like I jumped into the middle of the story. Like, how did that happen?
I think it started when Ryan, my fiance, started playing 40K first. So he started playing 40K. I played a lot of Final Fantasy 14 online, and Ryan, he noticed that I didn't love playing Magic as much. So he was really trying to find a tabletop for us that we could do together. And when he started playing 40K, he started with Tau. So he started with Tau, playing with that, and he's like, well, let's go ahead and let's try to find an army that we can play together. So I read the lore and I stumbled upon Tyranids. And I actually went to school for biochemistry, and I was thinking, ooh, Tyrannid is a lot of biomass, acid. Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. So I was like, all right, let's go ahead and let's start with Tyranids for me. I did a lot of bugs, and I paint them Final Fantasy 14 as a little Termagant as Moogles. For those who do Final Fantasy, I put little pom-poms on the top of their head. So they go around like, but little pom-poms instead. I will never ever see pom-poms going, there go the Termagants. And I started painting that, and a lot of people loved how that looked, and it just kind of started and started growing just bigger from there. And I'm just so grateful for that opportunity and for people coming and wanting to see what type of art that I can do. And I can remember my first one that I did was a Bellacore. For my first ever commission was a Bellacore. And I remember, as hilarious as it was, not the paint job being the hardest for it. It was actually putting the base together. Of the Bellacore base. I had the most issue putting that base together.
I no longer want to see any of your corn. I need the Moogles. I need to see these Moogles immediately. Send that over to me. This corn stuff looks nice, but who needs corn when you can have Moogles? How am I supposed to save my game if I can't hit the Moogle?
I would love to send the Moogles over, but they already found a new home. I sold them, which is what happened before Cherokee. It's all of my Nid sold because there's another Final Fantasy lover, so he bought it from me, which is why, right before Cherokee, we looked into the closet and the only thing left was Demons that was mostly put together.
So do you have an art background?
No, I do not. I have no art background whatsoever.
Are you a savant of this side? I feel like you sound like an anime character now. You're just like, I picked up the sword and I just found out I was really good. And then I defeated the enemy. You're like, what?
I guess like maybe it was always there and I just didn't know about it. And it was my fiance and some people who I knew that was really, maybe you should go ahead and try painting. My aunt and uncle, who are also painters, very theatrical, was super supportive, as well as my parents of like, well, maybe you should try and just see, if this is something that you love to do. And I have fallen in love with it, waking up each morning and just looking at a model of what do you want to be today has been amazing.
I'm just going to put some models in here. You know what? It is not Sephiroth because I'm still mad at Sephiroth, 30 years later for killing Aerith. He's still on my shit list. For those of us that played Final Fantasy VII, sorry. Spoiler alert, 30 years later, if you haven't played the original game, she gets killed, and I was not expecting it. Thank you very much. but we are going to change that as we go. I feel like you're just like, you're not telling us this whole story. You literally went, I was walking by a model and then I painted an entire army.
So what resources did you use to learn how to paint? Was this just like you picked it up, you knew immediately what you were doing and went, or did you watch somebody on YouTube? Did you do a little research? How did you get to the level you're at?
I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I asked a lot of the 40K community as well that's here in Greenville for some help and feedback. And, being able for them, to say, I think you need to work on your highlighting a little bit more, or I feel like, maybe, try a different brand of brushes that may or may not, because for painting in general, everybody has a different style. And finding that style that best fits you the most. And it's going to be different for each painter. So some YouTube videos that I watched, one of them, when I was doing a lot of the chaos for the berserkers, especially for this world eaters, I tried, spraying with my airbrush the base color to see if that would be a faster method. It actually turned out to be slower for me. So I do that faster doing it by brush and by airbrush, as weird as that sounds. Normally you would think it'll be the opposite, but for me, by brush has always been the fastest. And just trying to find YouTube videos, but also what works for me. Because you could spend many hours on YouTube and try to figure out, well, maybe I can try this, maybe I can try that. And literally it's just trying what works.
So what's your preferred brush?
I actually use and love the Ivory collection from Rosemary and Company from Great Britain.
Oh, the brushes you can't get in America anymore.
Yep. So I had them. I order so many brushes. I have them imported in, and those are the ones that I've fallen in love with.
Yep.
I'm literally waiting for you paint snobs to tell me whether or not that's a good brush or not, because she could have said, like, I'm using laser things with dilithium crystals, and I would have been like, yeah, it sounds great.
With working in the art community, Rosemary and Company is a very bizarre brush company, because nobody knows how Rosemary and Company gets the sable to make their brushes, because there's only 3 people that control sable in the world and none of them sell to her. So she's getting it from somewhere else. So it's kind of a you're using a brush that has a black market sable. I love everything. The story continues. I love everything about this.
I can't. So I actually cannot get their sable brushes in. I've tried. It says, sorry, you're shipping to the States. It's not allowed.
So you can the thing you can try now is very similar to those brushes are from Da Vinci. They have a sable line that's really, really similar, and they have 3 different bodies on their brushes. So there's a narrow, a full, and a fat body. I'll send you a link at some point through Brad and get you to look at those.
That'd be fantastic. It's always nice to have those brushes.
I just need you to continue to use your illegal brushes that you only get on a special quest on Thursdays at a blue moon.
You know why you can't get them anymore, right? Because all the sable for all the brushes, all the Kolinsky sable, comes from Russia. You can't get anything out of Russia to anywhere anymore. So it's just like, oh, yeah, those brushes that were like $20 a piece, they're now like $80 a piece. Good luck.
Best quote still from Dean. Spoiler, Leah is actually Rosemary. I love everything about this. We're going to have some races. How fast can you paint, Brenton? I need to know this now.
I paint pretty fast, but I stick with like cheap army painter brushes. So.
Well, clearly you didn't know that you were supposed to quest, but also she has an advantage. She's the main character in anime now, which she just fell down and found out that she's good at something. I felt like I literally was like way into the story. You're like, nope, that was day 1. I'm like, what? I tried to paint one model with help. A literal tutorial that I did with Sean Naden, where he was trying to get me to paint the same model as him and his wife. And I was so discouraged after painting that one model that I was just like, this is it. I'm done skis. This is too hard.
I think we should put a challenge out for the Patreon. We should make a level for whatever dollar amount we decide to do, to where if we get, let's say, 20 people to do it at that level, we take Brad for a weekend and we teach Brad slap chop method and get like an orc army painted for him. I think I'm all for this.
I feel that you guys would just lie to me and you would just use colors that I can't see and just tell me that it's all good.
No, we would find the colors that work for you, and we would get you there. I mean, to teach you a slap chop method army and have it be goth wouldn't be that hard. I think we could get you to do it fairly easily.
I don't know here, but I am saying that she may or may not run a criminal empire, and that's how she can continue to get this sable.
All the sable. It's all mine.
I just want to run all these rumors now. Hey, I heard on this podcast she's doing commission painting and the mafia. So I don't know which one seems to be more lucrative for you. That is true. Kara goes, my retirement is dependent on Brad not painting another model. Mute Brian. Because I would be the first one to volunteer to coach him. You guys explaining top level painting just makes my soul. You telling me that you painted like a billion things super fast actually makes me think that it would be cool, because I don't think I have the complete focused on painting, which is weird because I could literally make lists for like 23 hours in a row. But as soon as I try to pick up the paintbrush, I'd be like, this is so sad.
Brad, we have a veteran here locally who has nerve damage in his hand, so painting was a little difficult for him. And we were like, look, if we can teach you the simplest methods on how to get to tabletop standard, do you think you can do it? He goes, yeah, but he goes, I can't really edge, highlight, or do anything. And I'm like, oh, let us introduce you to contrast and glazing. And once we taught him how to do that, and it's pretty easy for the most part, he has been turning out really nice stuff, and he's really proud of himself. So it's really cool. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff without a ton of crazy over the top things.
Brandon did call you out. He just said that the South Carolina does have a history of smuggling. So I see what's going on here.
That's whiskey in the background or ground squirrels. I'm not sure which it is.
Any and all of the above. What was the favorite thing you painted so far? Whether it was commission or for yourself?
Oh, the most favorite thing. I think, honestly, the one that I've had the most fun is the new model, the Demon Prince for World Eaters.
Not bad. Ooh, well, I'm going to give you both of this because I asked Matt the last time he was on, and I already asked you, Brian. I'm going to get Brenton Leah on this. What's the hardest color to paint?
Ooh.
How about this? I'll give you a two-parter. What's the hardest color to paint, and what is your least favorite color to paint?
The answer is both yellow and yellow.
Oh.
Actually, I learned some really good airbrush techniques to be able to get a good layer of yellow down. So I'm going to be doing a surprise dreadnought pretty soon for one of our friends, and it's going to be Imperial Fist. So I'm going to be going under and doing a layer of red and then fading into pink to get some brighter areas and then putting down the yellows from there.
I guess I'm the weird one. I do not mind yellow or white. I just do not like orange.
See, I agree with you on the orange because it's tough because number one, there's no hobby paint that's a good orange.
Yeah, that's right.
And once you start getting into the artist grade oranges, you start getting really high in prices because I work at an art store. You get to the Series 7s oranges, which are about $60 for a big tube. You start going, oh, do I really need to paint that orange? Could I have picked a different color? But yeah.
I love the fact that I couldn't tell the difference between half this. In my mind, I was actually thinking to myself, is orange about the same as red, right? They're about the same color. I don't know. It all works out in the end. That's how you get me, because I would actually ask you to paint my World Eaters, and you'd help me with them, and you'd tell me they were all super glossy red, and they would just be bright pumpkin orange, and I would be bummed when someone explained that to me. all of the goodness all of the time. Do you like painting the AOS stuff or the 40K stuff?
Oh, that's so hard because it's two totally different paint methods between AOS, that's more fantasy, compared to the 40K, which is more of war and bloods and guts. It's totally different. One, you can use lighter colors with the AOS and have more of a whimsical feel, and then 40K uses more metallics unless it's Tau. So I've had a lot more probably open pathways for AOS compared to 40K, but also I have a lot of really cool merging of 40K coming up for commissions. I have one that I'm super excited about for that is a merge in between Elish Norn of Magic the Gathering with Tyranids. So it is porcelain white, red, and black. And it comes out just gorgeous on the concept model that I did. So I'm super excited.
Nice.
That's going to look really good.
What paints do you primarily use, Leah?
And why do we not see this concept model? You're literally holding out on us. This is ridiculous now.
Okay, I know she's upstairs and she's on Instagram. I did the Parasite and Morty tracks as a concept model.
So whose paint line do you use primarily? Do you have one that you use your go-to, or do you bounce around?
I bounce around. I know that a lot of the times I really like Vallejo game color in particular, unless it's their black, then the model color from Vallejo is better than the game color. The one that I've had the most luck with metallic so far has kind of been a tie in between AK and Pro Quill by Monument Hobbies. Has kind of been a tie on those.
What do you guys use? I need to know this now.
So I use a lot of different stuff. Iwata's got their own airbrush line for games coming out, which they just unveiled a few weeks ago at Adepticon. I just got a preview set of that. So, and the little bit I've used of it, I'm like, oh, this is the greatest color primer stuff I've ever seen. But for whites and blacks, I use artist grade acrylic paints. I use Holbein typically. And then I use every game color line except Vallejo because they made me mad by changing the formula of one of their paints once and the color a little bit. And it made it so I couldn't paint any more of that army ever again.
Formula? What do you do, like Dr. Evil this?
I mean, okay, I think it can't be as bad as the Citadel, because Citadel's been changing a lot of theirs recently.
They had to, because California passed a law, especially on their spray paints, where you couldn't have certain things in your spray paints and you couldn't have certain things in your acrylic paints. And Games Workshop had that in like half their paints. So that's why they've been doing subtle changes without people knowing it.
Oh, I could tell. I have two pots of supposed to be the same color, and it's not the same color.
You should let me judge this, everyone. I will definitely figure out different shades.
That's one of the reasons I really love using the artist grade paints. And the difference between an artist grade paint and a hobby paint is the hobby paints are thinned down already, even though it doesn't look like they are thinned down. Heavy body acrylics are really, really thick, and they're like 10 to 20 parts water to make the flow of a paint, to make it flow correctly. And you can use them and do really, really amazing stuff with them. They don't have as many color options available. So as the hobby paints where every shade is done, because most artists blend their own paints. But for like your primary colors, I love the artist grade paints because you get so much more mileage out of your dollars than you do. You spend $4.55 at retail on a small pot of Citadel paint. I can buy a large tube that's 10 times the volume for $7 of an artist grade of a primary color. So that's a big thing for me.
What are you throwing down, Brendan? What's your go-to paint?
So I use a little bit of variety. For GW, I really don't like touching anything outside of the shades and the contrast. Mm-hmm. And most of the time I actually just use the contrast for glazes through the airbrush. Generally, Brian turned me on to Pro Acryl. I really love their products and what they had to offer. I actually found Army Painter's Airline to be pretty good as well. I'm not a big fan of their regular paints, but the Airline is quite phenomenal. Then Scale 75 is another one I've been using a lot of lately, and it's been really good.
I have the go-to question. I need you guys to figure this out as a threesome, what is the most snobby of the paint lines? What do you have to touch with pinkies out every time you touch any of the paints?
Vallejo.
So the snobbiest of the paint lines.
The paint that you're using, you feel that you need to talk down to somebody using a different, lower quality paint. What is the high line paint?
So for me, it's when you go to doing oil washes on stuff and you're using, for me, it's Williamsburg oils, which are ungodly expensive for certain colors. And that's where you start getting into money, where it's like, oh, look, I had to buy this $48 tube of paint for 2 drips of paint and a little mineral spirits to do the end of a barrel. I feel like I should be talking down to people while I do that.
Oh, I'm about to say Vallejo.
Dude, it's 2-1 on pinkies out with Vallejo.
I mean, to be honest and fair, like, I painted like absolute garbage up until the point Brian's like, hey, the boys is literally a hobby-based event. And I poured my heart and soul into my towel just to then be like, it's a little above average, maybe. And then after that, it was on. Like, I started painting like crazy. I started getting better.
You saw what came to Du Bois. Mm-hmm. And then you went, oh, I need to step my game up. When Matt Aaron
best general isn't mine next year, but best overall will be.
When Matt Aaron comes in 4th at an event for painting.
You're going to keep keeping that above his head to the end of time, aren't you?
You know what? I know he's probably somewhere going to watch this stream and he's just going to go, that son of a bitch. But no, we get a really good amount of hobbyists who come to that event. And I think we'll actually probably get more this year because with Worlds being the same weekend, it's going to be a very interesting thing.
You know, Eddie says they sell Vallejo at Hobby Lobby. It ain't that fancy, everyone. Now, I'm going to put that out to the chat. But KR says war colors from Malta. I need to know who is the snobbiest. As soon as you start painting with what paint, do you have to tell someone else, move away from my models, peasant? I'm painting royalty here.
The one paint that's kind of gets that feel is if you've ever used Turbo Dork's color shift stuff. There's some really interesting paints in their line, and when you're done, you're like, I can't believe I did this with spicy meatball. And I'm not kidding. That's the name of the paint.
I still want to know how
cool
you.
Red.
I love Turbo Dork though, especially with some of their metallics.
Oh yeah.
It comes out beautiful.
I actually used a little bit of Turbo Dork just on my Riptide shield on the one finished model that you all said was really good at the boys. That's that shift that was on there that went from like that pink to purple to teal. Yep. Depending on the angle you're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Valley coming out of the woodwork with, I don't think it matters. It's the technique. You could use your expensive paints, bums. I will only use my skills.
So that's true, though. I mean, a lot of terrain that I've painted over the years, I've used, apple barrel paint, which is the cheapest of the craft paints you can buy. It's like 50 cents at Walmart. And as long as you thin it, use it correctly, put it on right, use the right applications, you can get good results. I'm not saying you should use that on a model, but on terrain, it works really well. But then again, I'm the person who has spent, a ridiculous amount of money buying every paints company's paint lines to try them out. If you're a big fan if you're an old school person like myself and Brad, when we started playing and when models got painted back in the day, there was these little hexagon pots from GW with a flip top lid. They were kind of a opaque colored pot.
I also was maybe responsible for leaving too many of them open, much to get yelled at by Greg Sparks. So, or Snigs.
Or Snigs. And there's a company, the company that made that paint for Games Workshop was called Coat d'Arms. They have one U.S. distributor. They're out of the UK. They're not a very big paint line. Their paints are phenomenal because they have a bunch of different stuff. When people go, oh, I wish they still made chestnut ink, you'll hear a lot of old school painters talk about that. That company still makes it. You can get it. You have to spend like $50 and buy, 7 bottles of paint from them and then $20 shipping to get it over from the UK. But it's great stuff. They have the only blue metallic paint that is blue metallic, doesn't show any silver in it. It actually looks metallic. It's really interesting. And it was an old GW paint that they really just went, oh, you're going to stop buying from us? All right, we'll slap our label on it, and did zero marketing. They'd probably be a really big company if they stuck to it. But
all of the things, some of the stuff. You know what I do have to ask? Because I know Brenton's exploding at this. We did have a data slate today, and I may or may not have been talking about certain lists of Tau. And Brenton said, it depends on the Tau sept. What's going to be good? And I said, I may or may not talk about it tonight, or I could keep sprouting my opinion on this. So I'm going to let him, before his head explodes like scanners. It might be a little bit of a stretch for most people to remember. I think it was an 83 movie. It's all good. But Broadsides became core again. They joined the core family. What does that mean for you and the Empire of the Tau?
I mean, the first thing is I'm going to be fighting off all the bandwagoners away from my pedestal. But, no, so I just have a lot more flexibility in the builds that I can use, because now I can take different lanes of fire that I couldn't take before with a footprint that's not giving up bring it down points. They can receive the benefit of cover. They can receive all the buffs for rerolls to hit, any core buff. I mean, a broadside unit with a couple of shield drones and a 5-up feel no pain with a -1 to hit is really good.
Sitting in cover? I mean, that's a big thing on that. Mm-hmm. I love that. 83, I was -19 when that came out. I have no concept of time anymore.
The minute I looked at two armies data slates when it dropped, I looked at Tyranids and I looked at Tau, and I immediately messaged Brenton, and I was way later than this coming out because it came out early this morning, and I was like, hey, wait, broadsides have core again? His reply was, yes, they do. Taking them out of boxes now.
I'm going to give all of you the feel for this. So we had nerfs. Obviously, Dark Angels losing Transhuman was big. The basically you're not just being able to 15 Codex Warfare off of basically anybody staying in Devastator Doctrine, because they put a max for each 5/5/5 tactical, assault, and Devastator, so that hurts those armies a bit. Guard effectively didn't get nerfed, to be perfectly honest. The Finial just doesn't ignore hit modifiers, which is maybe a big deal. And Castricans didn't get nerfed, everyone. Castricans had the FAQ that they should have gotten, because no one does 6 mortals to everyone. They do it to one. They do it total, period. It's like that for every unit. Sorry. Okay, as I was saying, I'll continue on with
Reaper of Obliterex, which is still capped at 3.
Yes, I'm just saying everybody has a cap, period. It doesn't matter per unit kind of thing. So that being said, those armies went down a little bit. We raised Tau up a little bit because broadsides becoming core is kind of a big deal in this particular meta, where we've got a lot of big things. We've got a lot of 3 wound models all over the place. But the thing is that are these things that got buffs good enough to compensate, or do a couple of the armies like that were just Matrix style getting out of the way of nerfs? Ready? Demons, untouched, fantastic. World Eaters, untouched. I mean, I feel that 2 unit armies you play over there are untouched. But Space Wolves literally just kept their head down and told the Iron Hands and the Dark Ages to see what's happening up there. Oh, it looks like they're still shooting at us. Keep your head down, boys. And then Orcs. All of those didn't have their secondaries touched, didn't have any of the guns, any of their war gear touched. Are they going to be risen up by that? The other people going down? Or are we just looking at a GSC Imperial Guard meta? What's everybody think?
So actually, Brian, you want to take this one first? I might be a little long-winded.
So I think that GSC and Guard are both going to do very, very well in the right players' hands. So at the top tier players playing those armies, it's going to be tough wins. I think Tau got such a big bump, and a lot of very good players play Tau, and that's going to be big. I think a couple of the armies that got hit down to where your mid-table heroes aren't going to be able to 6-0 or 5-1 at GTs as often with the Space Marine, with the Dark Angels nerf. But I think that it's still kind of open. I think enough armies got buffs up to where it'll pull them up to where in the correct players' hands they're going to be good. I think I don't know if we're in a dominant meta, but I think we're in a fairly balanced meta. But we'll have to see where things shake out in 2 weeks when this data slate's really in effect.
I mean, I definitely agree that the meta is very balanced. GW's done a great job of trying to actually make the game enjoyable for everyone. And unless you're sisters, then you're just getting dunked on now. But
whatever. I'm playing elves this weekend. I'm not going to lie. Playing elves into a mortar desolator meta doesn't feel super great.
As I've been playing elves alongside my Tau as one of my other main armies, I actually feel really comfortable going into those armies because I know that we're in a spot where everything is about damage output, turn 1, turn 2. And if you stack your list ready to deal that damage turn 1, you can actually neuter Guard, for example, or Space Marine Desolators with a well-placed Shining Spear unit, or Warp Spiders doing their super jump to the back to shoot. There are options still. But
we will see this weekend if I have the mojo it takes to get past this nonsense.
Well, the thing is, I'm going to end up running into it for you, and you're going to escape by fighting, like, what is it going to be? You're going to fight Harlequins first.
I'm okay with that. I'm going to take on, there's another guy that's playing Uthway. I'm playing him. I'm going to play Harlequins. I've got it all plotted out. It's all going to work out for me. It's all part of I'm like Kaiser Soze. It's all part of my plan. Kobayashi coming in. This is all going to work out.
Well, it's so weird because like I'll play my Tau Sept and then I just skate towards the top table. It's like, what's going on? And then I play my Far Side Enclaves and I'm running into brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. I'm like, what's going on? So, but no, I think that what they did with the meta now is it just literally put all the power in the better player's hand. Mm-hmm. You know, like if I'm playing a guard player that's not Tom or Nassim or somebody that's really good, then they're going to be spinning in circles looking up, why is the sky black with missiles?
But, you know, I'll give that, though, because the top armies right now are very, very high ceiling armies. They have lots of player agency involved. But the thing is they have a lot of damage there, too. So, like, right now, we're at the end of edition. Everybody's got their toys. You make one wrong move, and it feels like you are just gone. It is a magic trick. Poof. Like, oops, I made a movement error, or I thought that you couldn't see me. Well, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So, with everything that's going through that, what do you? I'm gonna, as usual, segue us into something completely different just for a moment. As the newest player here with the Old Men group, how do you feel your confidence level going into a complete new edition, your first edition change? That would be you. That'd definitely be you, the youngest player going into the first edition change. These bunch of old slogs in here trying to talk shit. I don't want their opinion anymore.
I'm excited to see about how it's going to go. I'm proud of myself for the new data slate that actually came out. I understood what they were talking about with DIDs, and nothing for demons changed. So, yay for that. I'm super excited to see how Tenny does for the 10, for that big change.
I mean, we've got some big stuff so far when I was talking about it. I was just talking about it with KR earlier today, which is they've shown nothing but that vehicles are apparently going to be badass, apparently, in 10th edition. Like, also, let's talk about the fact that every single one of their pictures so far has been a billion tanks on the board. So I'm just saying, that might be a thing.
That'd be... Seeing tanks have not been relevant other than flyer here and there or a random, not broadside, my railgun boat. Yeah, that thing. Brenton, what's the name of it? The railgun boat. Why can't I remember right now?
Hammerhead.
The Hammerhead. You
I'm not gonna lie,
seen a tank
I
on
low
the
key enjoyed
board.
watching you struggle to get that out.
It's
Ben's like, I
perfectly
refuse
fine.
to help you at all.
It was quite painful, actually. All my friends were like, "Ha ha, Brian, pulling one of him," and you haven't seen tanks really on the board. I mean, outside of a random rhino or two here and there, you really haven't seen it. Seeing things lighted up would be kind of fun. It would be nice to see them back on the board. I mean, I don't remember seeing them since probably 6th edition was the last time I remember them being prevalent.
I played with hammerheads when I touched with Tau. I always see your tanks on the board when I play. Oh, that thing needs to die.
And he did send me this earlier. MAGA, make armor great again. He's going to put the hats on them. So.
I mean, I just like the idea of being able to do like 36, 37 mortal wounds to my opponent and just smiling. So.
I wonder what they're going to do with that also. Let's say, because
look at the guns that they've showed so far. The lethality on all of them has dropped.
Oh, 100%. The thing is that that's the beginning of an edition, though. And the thing is let's talk about the differences in the infantry versus the tanks, though. Ready? Hey, Terminator, T5, 2-up save. His damage was meh. And then they showed every tank. The speeders had T9. They also had objective secured 3. Like all of the tanks so far that have come out. But you know what? I'm turning this back to paint. I don't know where I'm going. Hold on, everyone. Just don't hang on. It's going to be a wild ride. Painter people. Is it easier? What would you rather paint? Big tanks, random small models, or something in between? Go. I'm starting.
Random small models.
Brenton?
100% random small models.
In between.
In between?
In between.
I usually prefer the bigger pieces just because I have more time to put into making them look phenomenal.
I honestly don't like painting vehicles. It's just, I can't do as much. There's not as much bits and bobs and little things you can do to make them stand out in the painting side of things.
I got yelled at this year at Adepticon. So we're getting ready, talking about what we're going to do and paint everything. Well, I love that I always put we for the team. Like, I was definitely in charge of some stuff. But I was talking to Alan. I'm like, oh, we could, use more vehicles, get more rhinos, this and that. And he's like, you do know that, like, no one wants to paint the vehicles. They're actually harder to paint. I'm like, I thought they'd just be easier. It's just more space. You just go spray, spray, spray things. Isn't that how it works? He's like, I'm going to throw this at you, and it has spikes on it.
I think that honestly, everybody's process to approaching the bigger models is a little bit different. Like for me, I grab 3 of the same range in a blue, for example, for my hammerheads. And I start with a black primer and I take the darker paints and I slowly bring it up to where I want it to be before I start hitting it with the lighting effect now. So, I mean, just in the base color, I'm putting 4 paints into it. But I really like the effect that I get from it. Also, I don't like being looked down at an event like, hey, look, you took random model. I was like, thanks, my name's Thomas Ogden.
I love everything about this.
It's like a lot of people giggle when they come into the store and they're like, oh man, yeah, I'm trying to paint my purity symbols, but every time I use my brush, like everything gets kind of wonky and I can't see what it is. And I walk over and I grab a micron pen, which is just a really, really fine pen. And I go, here, use this. And they were like, but that's not paint. And I'm like, it will do what you want. Look, steady hand, right, nice. And they go, oh yeah, isn't that cheating? And I'm like, how's it cheating when you're trying to get an effect and this does what you're looking for? And they go, oh yeah. I was like, and when you're done, seal it and you don't have to worry about it. Everybody will be fine with it.
Can you Brad proof a model though?
No. It depends. Can I sober Brad proof a model? Absolutely can probably sober Brad proof a model. Can I drunk Brad proof a model? Absolutely not. No way.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
So with taking Brian's advice on the pen myself, I was able to complete my Farsight finally, the brand new Farsight, and he's going to be on the tabletop this weekend at Pittsburgh, like fully complete, ready to rock as like the centerpiece to my army, and I'm really excited about it. So those pens did work. They made it look great.
And they come in not a ton of colors, but they come in a reasonable amount of colors for a lot of the stuff we do. They come in a red, they come in a blue, they come in a gray, they come in black. They're very handy, and they're something that people don't just think they can use. They're like, oh, what do I do for white lettering? And it's like, there's two companies that make white gel pens that have an acrylic base to them, and it's just like using paint. It's kind of the same boat. Little things that I don't think get shared enough for like the things that take you to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was showing it to somebody, and they're like, I feel like that's kind of cheating. I was like, well, look at it this way. You put all this time, like 6 hours alone, into these 6 vehicles, putting your base colors down. And if you really want to take the time to sit here and have to go back over your base colors because you messed up, wipe off the painting that you've just done to try to put some writing on, or just spend $3 and have happiness because it's done in 30 seconds. And it looks good.
I'm just looking at all chat. First off, Leah, you got cheers coming from South Carolina for you. But then after I said Brad proofing stuff, I get the line of people saying no. KR says maybe build the army out of foam, but of course then he would just set it on a heater. So I feel attacked, guys. I feel attacked.
Well, in the spirit of Brad proofing a model, the goal is with this Votan army that we're going to make him, he won't be able to ruin it because I might just put a bubble around each model.
Oh, you want to talk about coaching and things of that nature? So one of us, maybe, I'm not going to name any names, Chad Brester, always tells people to make sure they keep their score, have their score sheet and whatnot. And then a tournament I didn't. So I may or may not have gotten a score sheet from Breton that says at the top, keep your own score, motherfucker. And then it's laminated over that, so I could never do anything about that. That is just what's on the score sheet.
Wait, isn't there also a glass of wine counter on it?
Yep.
That's on the backside.
That's on the backside.
Yeah.
You got to keep track, man. It's important. And all I have to say is one, like I did at DeFrank's house, which was still my favorite, which was he gave me that giant thing. I'm like, I've had one glass. It's like, did that fit more of a bottle?
My wife has specifically set aside a bottle straw, and I'm not. They do make them. I've talked about it before. They make a straw that goes in a bottle of wine, so you can just sip out of the bottle of wine through a straw. And my wife bought like a 12-pack of them, and I set one aside, and it has Brad's name on it. So the next time I see him, he's getting a straw.
This makes me so happy. These are all the good things about life.
Next time you see him, it's not him and I driving through a blizzard to get to you.
It was the worst. Oh, no, that was a real thing. But no, I have to tell this again.
Before then, because there's this invitational thing that's happening that I'll be showing up at.
Yeah. Oh, yes, you showed up?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Jeff and I have decided that we're coming down. I may be not able to move at full speed when I get there because I'm having something done, but we'll be fine.
That's awesome. Leah, I want to tell you about the story of woe, of hardship, of sacrifices that people made for Brian Horton. We drove in that stupid blizzard that shut Buffalo down. You know, the place that on GPS it says drive straight through. Well, we went around that. We couldn't see anything. Brenton is just white knuckling it. I am just like literally, I thought I was just going to jump out of the window and just end it because I'm so stressed driving anyways. And we went, I don't know, 1 mile an hour, which is not the optimum speed to go when you're trying to get somewhere that's normally 8 hours away. We also took, I don't know, 3 alleys to get there because I had no idea where we are. Brenton seemed very confident. We were going down random roads with no lights. I don't even know if they were paved. He was like, we're totally good, guys. I'm like, he is killing us. That's what's happening. We finally show up to the tournament. I say nothing. I hug Brian. I just hold out my hand like the Force, and he just hands me wine. I go sit down and just go, ah. You guys also handed me a sandwich too. I was just like, it was by far, we've had some bad drives to Du Bois because for some reason you guys hold them in the winter in upstate New York, which weirdly enough gives you bad weather.
The nice part is next year, we've already made our determination. We're moving it to the end of October. So therefore, we will be fantastic. But one of the nice things I can announce for Du Bois is the Du Bois will be the first 2024 qualifier for Games Workshop's Worlds. So if you don't make Worlds this year, the weekend that Worlds is going on, you can come try and qualify at Du Bois. It's going to be an interesting time.
I like this. You know, that was the worst drive. The drive back the year that it looked like an 80s action movie when old John Willingham, who hasn't been around for forever, we were driving and it looked like CGI behind us was just chasing us. And he goes, we should stop and get dinner. I'm like, I'm never stopping this car ever until we get the hell away from here. Like we just
was that the year that like the tornadoes hit behind you guys?
No, that was no, it was tornadoes on the way there.
Okay.
Epic storm that closed everything down on the way back.
That's right.
So yes, we've had some bad goddamn drives.
So what Brad's not telling everybody is we're just going to take a party train all the way there next time.
Yes, we already. I don't know why we haven't been doing this. The Amtrak literally goes straight to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and we can get you picked up. It's not that big of a deal.
All of the things. It did. That is true. Zoom's got that. It snowed like basically at the tournament until the tournament, and then apparently you guys never had snow again. So it was just like, hey, fuck those guys in particular.
I specifically said this winter, okay, because we had an extremely mild winter for upstate. It was like, yeah, it snowed in November, and then we got snow one other day where it was bad, and then it was like, eh.
Okay, I'm going back to random modeling stuff. What's everybody going to do? What's the next army everybody's working on? I'm starting in the top right. That'd be Leah.
All right. Next army is actually the Tyranids for Elish Norn is the next army for one of my commissions, which Ryan did bring down. I don't know if y'all guys could see it or not, with the porcelain white and the red.
You gotta back it up. Just nope, right there.
Okay.
Right there.
Ta-da!
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a super clean job on the white. Great job.
Thank you. So that's my next one.
Brenton, what you got for yourself?
Myself, I need to finish my corn babies.
Corn babies.
Because my corn babies are getting left behind. And I need them to do good this weekend at mall and not fail all their saves.
Yeah. I did love that story that you're like, we played and I failed all my saves and I said, it's not my fault. I had to get the other army done first.
Yeah, I'm over here and I'm looking and Grun's just looking at me of like, are you going to get me painted this weekend? No, that's not going to happen.
Sadness. Brian, what are you going to do? You've been talking about several things. What are you actually going to paint though?
So currently I'm painting terrain. With the Salt City GT this year adding kill team, I decided that we needed a bunch of new kill team terrain. So that's what I'm painting next. For myself, for armies, I've been kind of having hobby ADD where I've been like, I'll put this together. I'll try it out. No, I don't like that. I'm going to put this together. No, I don't like that. I really am just in that. I'm not sure where I'm landing. I'm kind of looking forward to 10th dropping because I get a whole lot of new NIDs and I get to paint NIDs for 2 months or 3 months.
Yeah.
What are you psyched about, Brenton?
Well, I'm actually getting rid of my old AdMac just so I can redo a different AdMac because I don't really like the old paint scheme now I've gotten better. So I'm going to be doing a Borderlands Hyperion style AdMac.
Nice.
Oh, I like that.
I can say that I got to give Zoobs, who's in chat right now, is helping me out by painting my AOS army for trading him a bunch of stuff. And he just picked he had me just go, what of these colors do you like? And I'm like, that. And so I'm having a spring-themed Sylvaneth army finish being painted for me, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
Oh, I have a lot of Sylvaneth. They're just in the boxes still.
You have no excuse after you said you painted an army in 4 hours. You should just be like getting a new army every day. Just start appearing all over the place.
I mean, I want to paint my Sylvaneth, the beautiful cherry blossoms, like you put the Japan theme, and that's going to take a while to get all those. I don't think that could be done in the 4 hours.
Ooh.
I could try, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, if you're going to set a standard, you got to live by that standard for the rest of your life now. That's important. So
All right,
I
Brett,
actually did a
remember
samurai
that.
theme with my Far Side Enclaves that the cherry blossoms are actually quite difficult to make look just right.
I do. I'm going to give props to both of them now. So when I want everybody to know, because Brandon's doing his and Leah's got hers, they're going to do the combo, which is they're going to do a 10th edition paint off to see who can get the boxes of the new stuff done the fastest. Who should we put our bets on?
Oh,
Are you repping yourself? Or are you saying Brandon's going to win? That's all I'm saying. Are you going to win this contest? Do we need to put money on you in Vegas?
Oh, that's hard. Brett and I were talking about it.
fantastic challenge.
I'm excited. Especially if they're NIDs, I got this. If they're NIDs, I got this.
I mean, the knit part of the box that'll be painted in hours. The marine side will take a little longer, but
Britt said that she thinks you're going to win, so I feel that she knows what's going on here. Brandon, sorry, man.
I'm sorry. If Britt says she's going to win, she's winning. I apologize. Britt scares me.
She's going to make sure she's going to win. She's going to go over and shank Brandon. Brandon didn't win because he was limping after that quick hamstring he got.
A bad Tanya Harding, but this time with the wrist, I think is where it's going.
So some things I'm actually really excited to see on the hobby side is one of our teammates, Brandon Valley, does a great job with sculpting and converting things to be really cool on the tabletop. So he's done a great job with his Raven Wing. I'm excited to see what he does next.
I'm excited. Did you see this? He just started out of nowhere. Those display boards are looking pretty boss mode, by the way.
Mhm.
I had to give props to that. So I want to see this race. You know what? We'll stream that. That is definitely getting streamed on one. Well, somebody's channel's holding that. You guys doing your paint challenge of who's going to get that box done first. Now, I'm just saying that you have to make sure that you win now. We have chosen you to be the faster painter. So there's no pressure. I'm just saying I won't be mad. I'll just be disappointed if you don't win.
It's okay. I got this.
That's like disappointing your grandfather,
Exactly.
considering he's the same age as him. So
Slightly older.
slightly older. Okay, that's fair.
But I read at a 10th grade level, so it's all good.
So with everyone's, with the hype train started for 10th edition and everyone being, ecstatic for that, is there one thing outside of the 10 stuff where you're like, man, I have painted this up. I loved the model. I haven't put it on a tabletop in forever, and I just want to be able to do it in 10th. Is there a model for that for you, Brenton?
I don't know. It'd be really nice for my Dark Reapers to be good again.
Dude, I'm
And
sick
I've
of
got
that.
the newer Dark Reapers that look great, but the rules are trash.
Mogon Ra!
Yeah, it'd be nice
They
to see him on the
finally
table.
gave him a good new model. And then they went, remember when you used to be good? Because you're not now, but here's your cool model. No!
So, Leah, do you have something that you've painted up that you're like, I wish this was better on the table, that you're hoping you can get on the table?
Oh, I would probably say that's going to be I have an army of Emperor's Children that I did. It was one of my first armies. To be able to have another Emperor's Children to compare those two side by side.
Nice.
Ooh, that's kind of cool, actually.
So, Brad, what model do you want to put on the board that you're like, man, I haven't put it on the board in forever and I'm itching to do it?
The Mogon Ra that I was talking. Just Mogon Ra is. We used to play with him forever, and he was so awesome. And then, they finally gave him a cool sculpt. Because, the Mogon Ra has been 1 inch tall in that super static pose that he's like, gee. And then they finally gave him this awesome model and just trashed his rules. I was like, I want new Eldar line, to be honest with you. I want more stuff. Like the new stuff that's coming out, the models are super dynamic. And I'd like to see some new pointy ears coming out. And like to see those. Like if more things look like Jane Zara with elves, whew.
I would love to see the Fire Dragons and Fugan redone. That would be amazing.
Yes, please.
Please. Give me a Warp Spider. It's been the same model forever.
You mean the Sand People? Yes.
There have been 7 versions of Terminators, 1 version of Warp Spiders. please, 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 just give us a new warp plane.
Yeah, I'd like to argue with Zooms, but he goes, Magan Ra is Eldari for sucky death gesture.
Well, I mean, if you look at the
He's not
upgrade
wrong.
from old Incubi to new Incubi, I can't wait to see what they do from old Scorpions to new Scorpions too.
Yeah, it's really big. So everybody I think is looking forward to seeing the paint challenge. To be honest with you, I think it's going to be sweet. Ouch.
Yeah, I think one thing with going out to the new models that I cannot unsee is the new termagants, because they moved the tail up, and now all I see is cats with the tail up with a cat butt. Now it's all I see those models.
Are you gonna bedazzle the butts like you do with the cat? Have the little jewel over there, so you can't see it.
100%.
I love everything that's happening on. You know what? That's what we're ending on today. Bejeweling Termagant's butts is where we're rolling out today. Everyone, promote anything you want to promote. Leah, hit it up, and then we're going down to Horde.
All right, I really appreciate it. Please have a look at the Tavern and Guild Hall page there on Instagram. Reach out to me. It'll be great to be able to chat with all of y'all. And again, I really want to thank, of course, Still Frosty Gaming to doing all my bases and the diorama for my World Eaters to be done in 8 days tomorrow. So tomorrow is the last day for me to finish those 8 days with Corn special number 8. Let's hit it up.
Nice. Salt City GT stuff.
So, Salt City GT, we are a gold ticket qualifier for Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, and 40K. The more we get registered, the chance of us getting another ticket is probably a little higher. Sign up today. Ticket prices will go up here in a little bit. So, thesaltcitygt.com in Syracuse, New York. It's going to be a 10th edition event as long as it drops, with 2 weeks to spare, but should. July 7th, 8th, and 9th in Syracuse, New York. I run it. We have 40 tables of exactly the same terrain that is the GW layout. That's really nice. And if we get more than that, I'll add more tables. So looking forward to it.
Brenton, what's going on in Sunken City?
Sunken City is doing the same thing it always does. We're growing our 40K community in a small rural area. But what's really important is we're sponsoring Motor City Mayhem at an extensive level for prize support this year. So we're really excited to keep working with Motor City Mayhem. This is our year number 3 working with them. And if you haven't been to Motor City Mayhem, it's about time to sign up and go because it's literally my favorite event.
New plan, new style. What's the date on that again?
The date for Motor City Mayhem is the 26th of May, and then it goes on in 27th and 28th. And if by some chance you don't make the top cut, they have team doubles, which is always a blast. And they have the RTT as well for the competitive guys that want to edge out a few more ITC points.
Everything about it. That being said, thank you for all of you hanging out with us. And thank you for the people that put up with me doing this cast. And we will see you soon.